Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our first in a series of podcasts. I'm Mike Samaroff, and I've got Sheila Clark with me. Hello, Sheila.
Hello.
We're going to do a series of podcasts based on the royal family. What we're trying to do is break away from what you see in the papers, what you see on the television, and just tell you a little bit of like real life experiences and what we see of them as opposed to what we see in journalism. So we're going to start with a Christmas special, so try and keeping it nice and light. So Merry Christmas to everybody when it comes, and we hope you have a really great seasonal time in December and there forward. So this week we're going to, as I say, talk about some things to do with Christmas as we kick things off. So Sheila, I'd like to start off, if I can please, by talking about your experiences when you see the royal family either in person or observe them at Windsor decorations and state visits, that sort of things. Do you have any stories?
Yes, I do. I was very recently in Windsor for the very first state visit that I know of that's ever happened in Windsor just before Christmas. And that was the President of Germany visiting first week in December. So I travelled to Windsor to see that, and I got extremely lucky with the weather. I couldn't have had two more perfect days. Sunny, bright sunshine, Windsor Castle, beautiful decorations just outside, lovely Christmas tree there, and a real Christmassy feeling, and even sort of projected images to do with Christmas, both religious and fun things on the tower of the castle as you stood in the street in the evening, and that just made it a lovely feeling, a nice sort of glowing feeling. And Windsor looked pretty with the decorations. We had a crown in the high street and various other different things as well. It just looked spectacular, really. And as for the state visit itself, I haven't been to too many of these, but normally they happen in London and Buckingham Palace. But for the next 2 or 3 years, because of renovations at the palace, they're all happening in Windsor. So this is my second state visit in Windsor. I was there in the summer, but this is my second one, and only the second one I've ever done at this time of year, just first week of December, was brilliant, really. Sunshine, a bit too much sunshine on the carriages, so I didn't get such terrific photographs of the individual members of the family, which was the King and the Queen and the Prince and Princess of Wales. But it was still lovely to be there and experience that. And the carriages were so close, and all the procession is what I really love about that. I love the pageantry in the procession. I think we do that so much better in Britain than you probably get anywhere else in the world. So you had the band marching up the hill. I chose to stand halfway up the hill from on the side of the castle, and it was brilliant to just see the carriages and the horses all coming up the hill with such precision, and I got some lovely photographs. I just didn't get great photographs of the royal family simply because of the sunlight on the glass of the carriages, but still were able to see them. And actually I've got a funny one of the King, because the King was clearly looking out of the window, and he does look as if he's looking straight over at me, albeit very small in the frame, which was quite a nice moment because the King wouldn't recognise me. I did think that was quite a funny moment.
So he probably was looking at you then. Let's just go with that one.
Right.
He's going, look, there's Sheila. Hey, Sheila, how are you doing? It's me, the King. It's so cool when you get to see them in person, and you know that they know who you are as well. That's part of the whole thing that we're going to talk about during this series of, it's not that they know you necessarily personally, but they know who you are. You've seen them enough times to know, for them to know, most of them to know your name and to know where you come from, all that sort of thing. So that's exactly the point that we're trying to make. These are personal occasions. You've seen them, as you say, it's afar, you've taken a picture and he's looking at you on this time, but it is that you've had personal converses with them. So the next sort of thing I'd like to speak to you or chat with you about is so any chance meetings that you've had during the kind of or surrounding the festive times. It doesn't have to be on Christmas Day, just close to when you've been at these type of events.
Yes, so for many years I used to go to Sandringham at Christmas time, so both prior to Christmas, whenever I could get there, because I used to be a teacher, so it was difficult. I had to just go just immediately the school finished and go down to the Sandringham area, and I did get the opportunity, if Christmas Day, for example, fell on a Tuesday or a Monday, I would perhaps be able to go on the Sunday and then go back again on the Monday or the Tuesday for the service, just depending on how the time frame was. I could get 2 in the 1 week, and I might have been around still at New Year and get another opportunity at New Year, which was always lovely. So my very first year that I went to Sandringham for Christmas Day was in 1994, which coincided actually with being the Princess of Wales, Diana, Princess of Wales's last Christmas there. And that was my very first opportunity to meet the 2 boys, William and Harry, the 2 princes, William and Harry. And I remember giving them a fairly large size bar of Galaxy chocolate, and there is a photograph online of them carrying that chocolate after I'd handed that over. So that was a lovely moment. Meeting the 2 boys, and I had met Diana before that, but that was kind of a special moment. And at that time, the Queen did cross over and would come and speak to people. I wasn't standing in the right place for her to speak to me that particular Christmas, but I did get an opportunity in the 2 or 3 years that followed that, while she was still crossing over. She stopped that, I think, and stopped walking back in 1998, I think was the last year she probably walked back to Sandringham House. She tended to go in the car with her mother after that. But yeah, a lovely opportunity and a great way to see the young royals. So I saw, over the years I did that, I saw lots of the young royals as they were little, and then watched them develop and grow up. So that first year I went, I also saw Beatrice for the first time. I remember handing over some little chocolate coins to her. There's a picture exists of her walking along holding those coins that I handed her. She would have been about 4 or 5 at the time, I think.
Getting given coins at Christmas is a Christmas tradition.
And it was a lovely thing to do. I don't know what they did with the sweets and things, but it was just a nice moment to be able to do that.
My father-in-law still gives us chocolate coins at Christmas.
It's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, you see them sitting in the bowl in the corner of the room all day, and you think to yourself, I know what's happening here. that's one of those ones that you just see and you know is going to happen. It's not like, oh wow, it's like, oh yep, thank you.
And I always felt going on a Christmas Day was something special, because they didn't allow you to take photographs on the other visits. So if you went on Boxing Day, for example, or whenever the Sunday was after Christmas, whatever that was, or the Sunday before, you weren't allowed to take cameras in there, which was fair enough, but you were still allowed to go and stand and watch. But on Christmas Day, they allowed you to take your cameras in, and that was a sort of special thing. But what was really special about it for me was, I don't have a family really of my own, so it was my mum and I used to go, and we joined in the royal family's Christmas Day service, and you met other people who were like-minded out in the park. And I always felt that was the special bit about it. You were listening to the carols being sung in the church, and when the royal family went to church, you got a chance to see them, and when they came out and they conversed with the public as they were on their way back to Sandringham House, I always felt that was a kind thing for them to do, to let the public in there. And they weren't knowing, what people's circumstances were or anything. But for the years I went to that, I really felt that made my Christmas Day. And other people were probably going along with the similar thoughts.
I suppose being in a big group like that is almost like it's a community feeling. And as opposed to what we see from on the television, it's everybody coming together to celebrate that day of the year.
Yes.
Whether you're religious or not is irrelevant at that point in time, because everybody's coming together because it's a day of rest, really.
Yeah, and that I think is what it was about. And for the royal family, Christmas Day, and particularly the late Queen, the Queen Mother, our present King, for them going to that service and going to the service before that in the morning, the communion service that's held at Sandringham Church about 8 o'clock in the morning, they attend that as well. And I've stood at the gate and watched all of that happen. And I know Christmas Day has a real meaning. It is about the true meaning of Christmas and its faith and everything. And that's something that, very much comes across when you see them on Christmas Day. So you sort of remember the real meaning of Christmas, and that is about being together and being kind to one another. And I just always have felt that was a lovely thing for them to do, because they could easily have just closed the gate and left the public just in and around there looking through the gate. But they let the public in, and it gave many of us that have attended that over the years something special. It used to make my Christmas. I would go and spend, about a week down in Norfolk, and it really made a difference to me being able to go and do that. And I had lovely, lovely chats with a number of the family over the years.
Was there anywhere with your mum when she was with you that you would go to, and that was like part of the memory that was
yes,
special?
That is part of the memory, because she and I, we went together to that, so I have many memories of doing that with her. And I've got some funny memories of there as well, because latterly my mum wasn't so well, and I took her there in 2001, and she had a garden chair, and we'd arranged that she could sit in this garden chair. She had a broken collarbone on that occasion, and I didn't stand with her, but another friend stood with her outside the church. And I always remember the Duke of Edinburgh came down and crossed over to go and speak to the people that were in wheelchairs and things, and he came along in his usual sort of funny cryptic way and just sort of kicked her to the side of her chair and said, well, some people have wheelchairs and some people don't. And it was just typical Duke of Edinburgh kind of stuff. And I think the royal family were very good with her. And 2003 was the same. She was in the wheelchair. She was in a wheelchair by that time and suffering from secondary bone cancer. And I remember Princess Royal coming over and speaking to her and saying, oh, it's a bit too much of the Highland dancing and a bit too much of the tipple, because her arm was in a sling, which made it a bit difficult for her. But that was all to do with her cancer. We had a lovely chat with William as well at that particular point. So they were very, very good with her in those days when she was in a wheelchair. So yes, there's special memories of that.
And even now, they're still doing the same things, because like William and Catherine and their children have had moments with them as well. Was there an occasion you told me about, I think, when you got to give...
When William and Catherine got married in 2011, that would have been Catherine's first Christmas following that there. And I was there, and I got the opportunity to speak to Catherine. She came over and spoke. And I gave her the photograph that I'd taken of the wedding when I'd been in London, and she took that, and I said, it's lovely to see you at Sandringham. And she said, oh, have you been here before? And I said, oh yes, I come here every year. I've been coming here for years. As I said, a matter of fact, I first saw William here when he was quite young. So she chatted a wee bit about that, and I ended up in Hello magazine after that with that encounter. But she was absolutely delightful, and it was the same with Zara, Princess Anne's daughter. She got married in the summer of 2011, and again I took a photograph for her, and I managed to call her over on Christmas Day and gave her a photograph of her and her husband Mike Tyndall coming out of the church at Canongate, and she was absolutely delighted that he was a member of the public wanting to speak to her, because sometimes Zara and some of the others that are probably less well known just kind of slip through. They'll come and take flowers if you call them over, but they're not assuming that people want to see them. But she was delightful to speak to as well. Absolutely delightful.
But that's the thing. So you've got like the kind of the main stage of the royal family, the people that everybody is very much aware of. And I think programs like The Crown and even documentaries on any of the stations or channels that show you the royal family and follow them, kind of the fly on the wall, they do get you to know other members of the family that unfortunately are in the kind of background. But when you look at a group photo of them, if there is times when they're all together, they're always there, and it's nice not to forget about them.
Yes, and it was lovely watching the children. So I had the opportunity for the years I went to that on a regular basis. I watched all the children growing up. So Beatrice was only quite young. She might have been 5 or 6 when I first saw her. And it was lovely watching her with the Queen and the Queen Mother. Her and Eugenia when she was a bit older, and they used to attend that service every year, they would be running around taking the flowers. The Queen and Queen Mother would stand and receive flowers at the steps outside Sandringham Church, and they would then take the flowers off them and go and put them where they had to go. And it was lovely watching all that interaction going on over the years. And it's the same with Sophie and Edward and their children, well, particularly, you know, their daughter, when she was young, doing that very same thing. So yeah, a lovely experience and lovely memories of watching the children, and now they'll be doing the same with their children there. I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to meet George and Charlotte and Louis. I've seen them, but I haven't had the opportunity because I haven't been at Christmas. I haven't had that opportunity, but it looks special, and I do know people that are going. They live a bit nearer to Sandringham than I do, and they're, you know, continuing to go along there on Christmas Day.
At the end of the day, it's a family day for them as well, and they've got all these tick boxes that they've always got to adhere to before they even get to enjoy the family day, but that they've got, that they want to have, and that's like a whole other way of thinking. We all just kind of expect it. I'm not saying like you and I, but like everybody just expects it. They've got to be on those stairs, or they've got to be on that balcony at this time. For them, that's a whole other thing that they've got to do before they even settle.
That was part of the problem. I think it became a bit too overwhelming there on Christmas Day, and I think when it was taking about an hour for the Queen to receive flowers from the members of the public and all the children that were trundled in and all the parents that had to go over because the children were too little, that became a long time. And I think about 2012 was when she said enough is enough. She couldn't spend her whole Christmas Day standing on the steps of Sandringham Church receiving flowers from the children. So that bit of that stopped, and she stopped receiving the flowers on Christmas Day, or at any time. In fact, if you went to Sandringham, she didn't take flowers outside Sandringham Church. She did it in the little churches round and about if you went, but not at Sandringham. She just made that a thing because, and I totally understand that, because the royal family at the end of the day are a family trying to go to church. They've let everybody into the part, and if it's becoming so overwhelming because so many members of the public were turning up, then I think, you know, they were right to draw the line under that. So now there's nothing at the steps as far as I'm aware. They just gather the flowers and go over and speak to the members of the public as they pass by, but they don't individually take little children out and do that part of it. But that's not to say that the people that go there don't get the opportunity to see the family, because they do. They are still extremely good, and they are all about meeting the public. They very much are about that.
Yeah, that's definitely the point that we're trying to make, but we're also saying that they've got to have their time as well, and we kind of rob them of that a lot of the time. So happy Christmas to them when it comes.
Yes,
hope you
indeed.
get your Brussels sprouts as well. You know, don't let them go mushy. The Queen at Christmas, I mean, the Queen, can I use the phrase, she was iconic at Christmas. She was always iconic, whether what she was wearing or just her demeanour in general, but she, you know, her Christmas speeches were always a thing to wait for. Yes.
So I was actually born. Not that I saw the very first televised version of her speech, because I was a tiny baby in hospital, because I was born just before Christmas in 1957. So her very first Christmas broadcast on television, because she'd obviously done it on the radio before that, but the televised one, I was there. I probably was in a cot somewhere in a hospital, because I have got no doubt in my mind that my mum would have been probably watching that. If there was a television on the ward somewhere, or in whatever room they had, she would have been watching that, because in those days babies stayed in hospital longer. It's not like now that they got out. So yes, I could have been a Christmas Day baby, but I came slightly early. I was forecast to come on Christmas Day.
Well, that's a win-win for you then, because at least you didn't have to like couple up your birthday and Christmas and get robbed of that joy.
Yes, but no, I've got very many happy memories of that. And I will also say that our King, now. After my mum passed away in 2004, when I went there at Christmas, the first two or three Christmases I was there, he was extremely considerate because he knew that my mum had passed away, and he was kind enough to ask me how I was getting on and everything. So he very much was aware. And I don't know whether he wouldn't have known my circumstances or anything, I don't suppose, but he was very aware that she was no longer there, and did make the point of asking me at Christmas how I was getting on and everything, and I thought that was extremely thoughtful of him.
So you had mentioned also about your photo with your godson, and how that was also a meeting that you had with the, I'll call him Guy now because he's older now.
Yes. No, that was really fun. So the first year I went, well, not the first year I met him, he was there as a little boy with his parents, 2009, and he was just a little boy at the gate. He was in the Beavers, and he was waiting to go through to see the Queen. And the story about that was he'd wanted to go there. They lived fairly near that area, and they decided to take him along because he was in the Beavers and he wanted to know who this woman was that was patron of the scouting movement that he was beginning to become a part of. So he was there in his Beavers outfit, and he got the opportunity to speak to the Queen. And then he was standing there the following year. He was standing there in 2009 in his little cub. I think it was the cub or the Beavers, I can't remember now which it was, but he was there fairly near me, and Prince William came along and got right down to his level. So Prince William obviously nice and tall, and he was very small at the time, and he got right down to his level, and I've got this photograph of them almost touching heads. That's the level at which William got down to speak to the children, and I just thought that was really good. And I noticed Catherine doing exactly the same thing with the children. They've got so much time for young children, and you can see that now they've got children of their own. You can absolutely see that as well.
So you also said about the Duke of Edinburgh, and about your mum being in the wheelchair and like jokingly like nudging the chair, but he's always one for banter as well.
Yes, he was always good on Christmas Day because I felt he led the family. So when they walked from Sandringham, the Queen didn't walk to church and the Queen Mother didn't walk to church, but the rest of them all walked through the park to the church, which would be quarter of a mile, half a mile, from the house to the church, and a nice walk and a nice, Christmas crisp morning. But he was always at the head of the family, leading the rest of them through the park, and he did that really right up until the end of the time that he was going to Sandringham. He took that role on, and you can see the photographs over the years of him doing that. But you felt as if he was doing that when they came out of the service. He would wander off and just do his own thing, and he might wander over and speak to somebody in the corner where the disabled might be sitting, and then he would come down the path and he would just chat to odd people as he walked past. Somebody might call him over, he'd have a quip with somebody. He was always very, very good at doing that, or making sure that a child was in the right place. If they weren't in the right place, he would lift the child over a barrier, a fence or whatever to make sure they got the opportunity. So yeah, he was very good.
So do you think that Christmas Day is, in essence, a working day, whereas they take Christmas Eve as their kind of day to be together, because it's less in the limelight?
Well, no, I don't know. They arrive at different times, so some of them might be there a bit early, but a lot of them will get together as a family, I think, on Christmas Eve. They'll turn up on Christmas Eve. And most of them will stay around for Christmas Day, maybe Boxing Day, and then some of them will disperse. So by the time you get to whatever the Sunday is following Christmas Day, you won't have the entire family there, but you'll have some of them. And if New Year says Christmas Day was a Sunday, so New Year's the following Sunday, few more of them will have gone. Whereas if you had Christmas Day on a Friday and then it was a Sunday, there'll be more of the family together on the next occasion. To a couple of days after Christmas. So it just depends on the timing. And of course the children are older now. The late Queen's children are all older with their own families, and some of them are obviously got other places to go and they've got to go to the other side of their family and that sort of thing. But the majority of them do still come on Christmas Day. And it's lovely. You see people like Princess Margaret's daughter still going there on Christmas Day. And her children, have grown up doing that. So her children are now in their 20s. But I remember seeing them when they were little on Christmas Day. So it's there's still this family feeling of a get together because it's the one time in the year where it happens. And I guess that's true of families all over the world. People are gathering together, and Christmas is a time when a lot of families will get together. They don't see everybody throughout the year, and it's a family gathering, if you like, on Christmas Day. And I think it's important to the royal family as it is to families around Britain and elsewhere in the world.
No, absolutely. I know that there's a lot of members of my family that I don't get to see throughout the year, or we don't get together as a collective group. So it's nice for everybody to be together on that day. Well, I think we've about wrapped it up for week 1. It's been lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a wee series of these, see how they get received, and what we're going to do is we're going to do 6 weeks over a 12-week block. So we're going to release one every fortnight, and there'll be an audio podcast available on major streaming platforms. So please like us on the old Facebook and socials, and also please stop by. If we can get up to 30 likes on Facebook for this post, then we will share the picture that Sheila was talking about from the Hello magazine. That's your incentive. You heard my words. They're marked. Okay, everybody, Merry Christmas when it comes, and we will speak to you again in a fortnight. Bye.